Jun-Woo sat next to the hot spring and checked his watch. It was almost midnight in the Grampians National Park. The water bubbled and steamed in front of him, orange and yellow from all the minerals inside. Most people would think this place looked like hell. To Jun-Woo, it looked like the perfect place to find new life. He was a marine biology student at Melbourne University. Tonight, he was camping alone to collect samples of bacteria that lived in these toxic waters. His thesis was about life forms that could survive in extreme places. Australia had plenty of those places, and plenty of life that should not exist, but did anyway. The young Korean-Australian man wrote notes in his waterproof notebook. The temperature of this spring was 85 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cook an egg, hot enough to kill most things on Earth, but not hot enough to kill everything. Some bacteria loved it here. They ate sulfur and acid for breakfast. Jun-Woo smiled as he sealed another sample tube. His girlfriend Hai-Jin would love this data. She was studying xenobiology, the science of alien life forms that might exist somewhere in space. She always said that if aliens were real, they might be like Earth's extremophiles, life that lived in impossible places. A cool breeze made him look up from his work. That was strange. The night had been still and warm. Now the air felt different, electric, like the moment before a thunderstorm. The stars above him started to disappear. Not because of clouds. Something big was blocking them out. Something huge and dark was moving across the sky without making any sound. Jun-Woo stood up slowly. He had grown up in Australia. When something seemed wrong, you paid attention. The bush taught you that. His dad had taught him that. Even his Korean grandmother had taught him that. She said danger came quiet, like a snake. The darkness above him was not a cloud. It was solid. It had edges. It was a ship. The young man did not panic. Panic got you killed in the outback. Instead, he started thinking. If this was some kind of military aircraft, it was unlike anything he had ever seen. If it was not military, then what was it? A beam of light shot down from the ship and hit him. Jun-Woo felt his body getting lighter. His feet left the ground. His camping gear, his samples, his notebook, everything started floating up toward the ship. As he rose through the air, Jun-Woo kept his mind calm. He studied what was happening to him, like he would study a new species of bacteria. The light felt warm, but not hot. It did not hurt him. Whatever technology this was, it was very advanced. The ship's hull opened up and swallowed him. He landed softly in a room filled with strange purple light. The walls looked like they were made of some kind of metal that shifted colors. The air smelled clean but different, like ozone after lightning. Before he could look around more, a wall of energy appeared in front of him. It looked like a wall of water standing up, but it buzzed with electricity. Behind it, Jun-Woo could see shapes moving. They were not human shapes. The shapes came closer to the energy wall. Now Jun-Woo could see them clearly. They walked on, 2 legs like humans, but that was where the similarity ended. Their skin was pale green and looked wet. Their heads were larger than human heads, with big black eyes that had no whites. They had 4 arms instead of 2, and their hands had too many fingers. One of the aliens stepped forward. When it spoke, the words came out of a device on the wall, not from its mouth. Specimen acquired from planet Terra 3, it said. The voice sounded flat and emotionless. Classification: primitive carbon-based life form. Species appears docile and harmless. Jun-Woo almost laughed. Docile and harmless? They had clearly never met an Australian before. "You are now aboard the vessel of the Velthani Empire," the alien continued. "Your planet has been selected for study. You will not be harmed if you cooperate with our research." The young man looked around his prison. The energy wall hummed softly. The floor felt solid under his feet. The air was breathable. His camping gear had been placed in one corner of the cell. Even his sample tubes were still intact. "Research?" Junwoo said out loud. "Interesting." The aliens seemed surprised that he spoke. Their big black eyes focused on him. "You are not displaying expected fear responses," one of them said through the translator. "This is unusual for primitive species." Junwoo sat down cross-legged on the floor. He had been in worse situations. There was the time a saltwater crocodile had cornered him near a river. There was the time he had gotten lost in the desert for 3 days. There was the time a funnel web spider had crawled into his sleeping bag. Compared to those experiences, being captured by aliens was almost relaxing. At least these aliens seemed to want him alive. "I have questions," Junwoo said to his captors. The aliens looked at each other. Their movements were quick and bird-like. "Specimens do not ask questions," one of them replied. "Specimens provide data." "Right," Junwoo nodded. "But see, I am a scientist. Scientists always have questions. For example, how does your ship's propulsion system work? You made no sound coming down through the atmosphere. That suggests some kind of field manipulation technology." The aliens stared at him. They had expected screaming, crying, or begging. They had not expected a lecture on physics. "Also, Junwoo continued, your translation system is very good. It must have analyzed human language patterns very quickly. Do you have databases on other species you have encountered?" One alien turned to another and made clicking sounds. The translator did not convert these noises to words. "Another question," Junwoo said cheerfully. "What kind of life support systems do you use on your home planet? Your physiology suggests you evolved in a low-gravity, high-humidity environment, probably with less radiation than Earth receives." More clicking sounds from the aliens. They seemed agitated. The lead alien stepped closer to the energy barrier. "You will answer our questions, not ask your own." Junwoo nodded politely. "Of course. But just so you know, I study extremophile organisms. Those are life forms that survive in very dangerous places. I have spent years learning about things that live in environments that would kill most other life forms." He gestured around the cell. "This is actually quite comfortable compared to some places I have done field work." The aliens exchanged more clicks. Through the energy wall, Junwoo could see more of them gathering. Word was spreading that their specimen was not behaving like a specimen should. Junwoo settled back against the wall and closed his eyes. He needed to think. These aliens had made assumptions about humans based on incomplete data. They thought Earth was just another primitive planet with weak, simple life forms. They had no idea what they had just brought onto their ship. They had no idea that Australia was basically a training ground for survival. They had no idea that Junwoo had been dealing with things that wanted to kill him since he was old enough to walk. Most importantly, they had no idea that humans were very, very good at adapting to new situations. Junwoo opened his eyes and smiled at his captors. This was going to be educational for everyone involved. Captain Keth Moore stood in front of the energy barrier and studied the human specimen. In his 300 years of conquering primitive worlds, he had never encountered a species that reacted like this. Most creatures cowered when captured. They cried, they begged, they tried to bargain for their lives. This human was asking questions about spacecraft engineering. Begin standard interrogation protocol. Keth Moore ordered his science officer, Vex Tal. Vex Tal activated the scanning devices. Beams of light swept over Jun Woo from head to toe. The human watched this process with obvious interest, turning his body to help the scanners get better readings. Fascinating, Jun Woo said. Are those quantum resonance scanners? The frequency looks similar to what we theorize might work for non-invasive cellular analysis. Keth Moore's forearms twitched in annoyance. Silence, specimen. Oh, sorry, Jun Woo replied. But since you are scanning me anyway, could you check my left shoulder? I think I might have torn something yesterday when I was collecting samples, near a cliff face. A wedge-tailed eagle tried to take my hat and I had to duck pretty fast. The Velthani captain stared at him. A flying predator attacked you? Well, not really attacked. Eagles are just territorial. You learn to read their body language. This one was just having a bad day. Jun Woo stretched his shoulder and winced slightly. Though I have been attacked by birds before, magpies during nesting season are absolutely vicious. They dive bomb anything that moves. I got 12 stitches once from a particularly angry one. Vex Tal looked up from her scanning equipment. Captain, the specimen claims to have survived multiple encounters with aerial predators. I survive lots of things, Jun Woo said casually. It is part of living in Australia. Last month I had to deal with a huntsman spider in my dorm room. Thing was the size of a dinner plate. My girlfriend Hai Jin just laughed when I told her about it. The aliens looked at each other with their large black eyes. Your mate found your survival encounter amusing? Keth Moore asked. Oh yeah. Hai Jin thinks I attract weird situations. She is studying xenobiology, so she finds all this survival stuff interesting from a scientific perspective. She actually theorized that if we ever met aliens, they might be like our extremophile bacteria, life forms that can live in impossible conditions. Keth Moore felt something cold in his stomach. Their databases said Terra 3 was populated by simple, fragile creatures. But this human spoke of surviving attacks from multiple predator species like it was normal. And his mate studied theoretical alien life forms as casual academic work. Continue the interrogation, he ordered. Vex Tal consulted her instruments. Specimen, state your primary function in your society. I am a student, Jun Woo replied. I study marine biology, specifically organisms that live in extreme environments. Hot springs, deep ocean vents, places with high radiation or toxic chemicals. You study life forms that exist in lethal conditions? Sure. Earth has lots of those. Take the bacteria I was collecting tonight. They live in water that is hot enough to cook flesh. They eat sulfur compounds that would poison most other life forms. But they love it there. Life finds a way, Keth Moore's breathing became rapid. Your planet contains multiple lethal environments? Well, yeah. Australia especially. We have deserts that can kill you from heat during the day and cold at night. We have rainforests full of things that want to eat you, sting you, or poison you. We have beaches with jellyfish that can stop your heart in minutes. We have spiders whose bite causes necrosis. We have snakes that can kill an elephant. We have crocodiles that can bite through steel. The scanning room became very quiet except for the humming of the machines. And humans survive in these conditions? Vex Tal asked quietly. We do not just survive, Jun Woo said with a smile. We thrive. Australians go camping in places that would terrify most people. We swim in oceans full of sharks. We hike through deserts for fun. My mate, Hai Jin, goes rock climbing on weekends. My friend Tae Hyun does cave diving in underwater systems that have never been mapped. Captain Keth Moore stepped back from the energy barrier. The Velthani homeworld was a garden paradise. No dangerous predators, no extreme weather, no toxic environments. They had evolved in perfect safety and comfort. This human was describing a world that sounded like the worst nightmares of every civilized species in the galaxy. "Specimen," Keth Moore said carefully. "How many of your species exist on your world?" "About 8 billion humans," Junwoo replied, "plus all the other dangerous stuff. Oh, and we domesticated some of the predators. We keep them as pets and companions. Dogs, cats, even some people keep reptiles and birds of prey. 8 billion creatures that survived on a world of nightmares. 8 billion beings that turned apex predators into companion animals." Keth Moore felt his confidence draining away like water through a broken vessel. "Captain," Vextal whispered in their native language, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach." But Junwoo heard the whisper and responded in perfect Velthani. "You should definitely reconsider. But I am curious about your approach. What exactly were you planning to do with me?" The aliens froze. Their translator had not been teaching him their language. He had been learning it just by listening. "How do you speak our language?" Keth Moore demanded. "Oh, I pick up languages pretty easily, pattern recognition. Also, your grammar structure is similar to Korean, which I learned from my grandmother. She always said learning new languages keeps your mind flexible. Useful skill when you encounter new situations." Junwoo stood up and walked closer to the energy barrier. "So what is the plan here? Are you taking me back to your homeworld? Are you going to study human physiology? Are you planning to invade Earth?" We gather specimens for research," Keth Moore said weakly. "Cool. What kind of research? I might be able to help. I have been doing research my whole academic career. Published 3 papers already, and I am only 22. The captain looked at his science officer. This was not how specimen collection was supposed to work. Specimens were supposed to be helpless and terrified. They were not supposed to offer to collaborate on research projects. "The specimen is not displaying expected behavioral patterns," Vextal reported. "Recommend immediate consultation with the behavioral specialists." "Good idea," Junwoo agreed. "I would love to meet your behavioral specialists. I have so many questions about your social structure and psychological development." Keth Moore realized they were losing control of the situation. "Guards, prepare for specimen transfer to the research bay." "Excellent," Junwoo said enthusiastically. "Will I get to see more of your ship? The engineering must be incredible. Also, I am getting kind of hungry. Do you have food that humans can eat?" "I am not picky. I have eaten things that would make most people sick." As the guards approached the energy barrier, Keth Moore noticed something troubling. The humans showed no fear of armed aliens approaching his cell. Instead, he seemed excited about the opportunity to learn more. This was either the bravest specimen they had ever captured, or the most dangerous. Keth Moore was beginning to suspect it was both. The energy barrier flickered and started to lower. Junwoo collected his camping gear and slung his backpack over his shoulders. "Ready when you are," he said cheerfully. The Velthani guards looked at each other uncertainly. They had weapons that could stun a charging Grox beast from their homeworld, but they were starting to wonder if their weapons would even slow down a creature that treated surviving on a Deathworld as casual weekend entertainment. As they led Junwoo through the corridors of their ship, Captain Keth Moore made a decision. He was going to contact the Velthani High Command immediately. They needed to know what kind of species they had just made contact with. They needed to know that Terra 3 was not populated by primitive, harmless creatures. They needed to know that they might have made a terrible mistake. The research bay was 3 times larger than the holding cell. Strange machines filled the room, all humming with different frequencies. Jun Woo looked around with the same expression he wore when exploring a new coral reef. Pure scientific joy. "This is amazing," he said, walking toward one of the machines. "Is this some kind of molecular analyzer? The crystalline matrix suggests quantum-level processing." The Velthani guards raised their weapons. "Step away from the equipment, specimen." Jun. Wu stopped and raised his hands. "Sorry, just curious. I get excited about new technology." He noticed how quickly the guards had reacted. Their movements were fast, but not as fast as a red-bellied black snake striking. He had dodged those before. Dr. Yeathcole, the Velthani chief researcher, entered the room. She was taller than the others, with darker green skin marked by scientific achievement tattoos. Her 4 arms moved independently as she worked multiple control panels at once. "Begin biological assessment," she ordered. "Full spectrum analysis." More scanners activated. Beams of light swept over Jun Woo again. This time the machines beeped and chirped constantly. Dr. Yithkole's eyes grew wider as she read the results. "Impossible," she whispered. "What is impossible?" Keth Moore demanded as he entered the research bay. "Captain, this creature's bone density is 30% higher than predicted. Its muscle fiber composition suggests strength levels far beyond what our models indicated. And its nervous system—" She paused, checking her readings again. "Its reaction time is faster than most predator species we have cataloged." Jun Woo heard this and nodded. "That makes sense. You kinda need quick reflexes when you live around funnel web spiders. They can move from hiding to striking in about 40 milliseconds. If you hesitate, you die." 40 milliseconds? Dr. Yeathcole checked her instruments. "That is faster than our security systems can react." "Oh, funnel webs are not even the quickest," Jun Woo said casually. "There is a type of jumping spider that can change direction mid-leap. And do not get me started on centipedes. I once had a 30-centimeter centipede chase me around my apartment for 20 minutes. Vicious little thing." Captain Keth Moore felt his confidence slipping away completely. "Continue the assessment." Dr. Yithcole ran more tests. Each result made her more nervous. "Captain, this specimen has survived exposure to multiple neurotoxins. His blood contains antibodies for at least 15 different venoms." "Yeah, I have been stung and bitten a lot," Jun Woo admitted. "Box jellyfish when I was 16. That was not fun. Blue-ringed octopus when I was 18. Barely survived that one. Various spiders and snakes over the years. You build up immunity after a while." The research bay became very quiet. "You survived a blue-ringed octopus bite?" Dr. Yithcole asked in a small voice. "Barely. I was unconscious for 6 hours. But my friend Yoon Soo called the flying doctors fast enough. Good thing, too, because blue-ring venom can kill you in 20 minutes if you are not prepared for it." The Velthani stared at him. Blue-ringed octopus venom was similar to the most deadly biological weapon in their arsenal. This human had survived it as a teenager and called it a learning experience. "Specimen," Captain Keth Moore said carefully. "What other survival experiences have you had?" Jun Woo thought for a moment. "Well, there was the time I got lost in the Tanami Desert for 3 days. No water. Temperature hit 50 degrees Celsius during the day and dropped to near freezing at night. I survived by digging for moisture under rocks and eating certain types of ants." "You consumed insects for sustenance?" "Protein is protein. Actually, ants are not bad if you cook them right. Bit nutty. My Korean grandmother taught me that you eat what is available when you need to survive. Dr. Yith Cole was taking notes frantically. Continue. Then there was the saltwater crocodile incident. I was in a kayak in Kakadu National Park when this big male decided he wanted to eat me. 4-meter croc, probably weighed about 600 kilograms. He grabbed my kayak and started doing death rolls. How did you escape? I punched him in the eye and kicked him in the throat while he was rolling. Crocodiles have sensitive spots if you know where to hit them. Then I swam to shore faster than I have ever swum before. The aliens looked at each other in horror. This human had fought an apex aquatic predator hand-to-hand and won. Of course, Jun-Woo continued, the scariest experience was probably the bushfire. I was doing field research in Victoria when the wind changed, and suddenly I was surrounded by flames. Temperature got up to about 800 degrees Celsius. I had to hide in a creek for 6 hours until the fire passed over. 800 degrees. That was hot enough to melt their hull plating. Captain Keth Moore made a decision. Guards, escort the specimen back to holding. But as they moved toward Jun-Woo, he demonstrated exactly why his reflexes were so much faster than their security systems. He simply was not there anymore. He had moved aside so quickly that the guards stumbled into each other. Sorry, Jun-Woo said from across the room. Reflex action. When something big moves toward me fast, I dodge first and think later. Survival instinct. The guards raised their weapons, but Jun-Woo was already moving again. He did not run in a straight line. Instead, he moved in a pattern that seemed random, but was actually based on years of avoiding everything from swooping magpies to charging buffalo. Please do not shoot, he called out as he ducked behind a piece of equipment. I am not trying to escape. I just do not like having weapons pointed at me. Makes me nervous. Dr. Yith Cole watched in fascination as the human moved through her research. Bay like water flowing around rocks. Every time the guards thought they had him cornered, he was somewhere else. How is he moving like that? She whispered. Practice, Jun-Woo replied from behind a different machine. His hearing was apparently excellent, too. When you grow up dodging things that want to kill you, you learn to move efficiently. Captain Keth Moore realized they had a serious problem. Their weapons could not target something that moved like this human moved. Their security systems were designed to stop large, slow-moving creatures that attacked in predictable patterns. This human moved like liquid lightning with a brain. Specimen, Keth Moore called out. If you cooperate, we will not harm you. I am cooperating, Jun-Woo replied, now somehow behind them. I answered all your questions. I let you scan me. I am just not letting you point weapons at me while you do it. He was right. He had cooperated completely. He had just done it on his own terms. Dr. Yith Cole looked at her readings again. This human's stress hormones had barely elevated during the entire encounter. Dodging armed aliens was apparently not much more stressful for him than his normal daily routine. Captain, she said quietly, I think we need to reconsider our classification of this species. What do you mean? Our databases list Terra 3 inhabitants as primitive and harmless, but this specimen has survived multiple encounters with apex predators, extreme environmental conditions, and neurotoxins that would kill most galactic species. His reflexes are faster than our security systems. His bone and muscle density suggests he is naturally armored and incredibly strong. She paused and looked at the results again. Captain, I do not think we captured a primitive specimen. I think we captured an apex predator that happens to be intelligent and curious. Jun-Woo poked his head up from behind a scanning console. Did someone say apex predator? That is not really accurate. Humans are omnivores with tool-making intelligence. We are more like adaptive survivors with curiosity problems. The fact that he could hear and understand their quiet conversation from across a noisy room just proved Dr. Yith Cole's point. Captain Keth Moore felt something he had never experienced before in 3 centuries of conquering primitive worlds. He felt afraid. Not just afraid of this one human, but afraid of what 8 billion of them might be capable of if they ever decided to leave their death world and explore the galaxy. "Stand down weapons," he ordered his guards. "The specimen is cooperating." Junwoo smiled and walked back over to them. "Thanks. So what other tests did you want to run? This is actually pretty interesting from a xenobiology perspective." The Velthani High Command had been contacted. Admiral Zek Thrawn herself was coming through the ship's communication system, her image flickering on the main view screen in the command center. Captain Keth Moore stood at attention, all 4 arms rigid with military discipline. "Report, Captain." Admiral Zek Thrawn's voice crackled through space. "You have retrieved a specimen from the Terra 3 system?" "Yes, Admiral. However, we are encountering unexpected complications." "Explain." Keth Moore chose his words carefully. "The specimen is not reacting according to our behavioral models for primitive species. It shows no fear, demonstrates advanced learning capabilities, and possesses physical attributes that exceed our predictions." "Captain, are you telling me that you cannot handle one primitive creature?" Before Keth Moore could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Dr. Yith Cole's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, we have a situation in Research Bay 7. Keth Moore ran through the corridors with his security team behind him. When they reached the research bay, they found Junwoo sitting calmly next to a pile of disabled security drones. The machines lay scattered around him like broken toys. "What happened here?" Keth Moore demanded. "Your security system tried to subdue me while you were talking to your admiral," Junwoo replied. "I guess it was programmed to activate when you left. But these drones move kind of slow compared to what I am used to." Dr. Yith Cole checked her instruments. "Captain, he disabled 12 security drones without taking any damage, our most advanced combat units." "They were not that advanced," Junwoo said politely. "Their targeting system has about a 2-second delay between target acquisition and energy discharge. Also, their movement patterns are very predictable. They remind me of the automated sprinkler systems at my university. Easy to dodge once you figure out the timing." Keth Moore stared at the broken machines. Each of those drones could stop a charging Velthani battle beast. This human had dismantled them like they were annoying insects. "How did you disable them?" "I pulled some wires out," Junwoo said, holding up a handful of colored cables. "Basic electronics. My friend Tae Hyun taught me about circuit systems when we were building underwater cameras for my research projects." The young man noticed the horrified expressions on the aliens' faces. "Oh, do not worry. I did not break them permanently. I just disconnected their power systems. You can probably fix them in a few hours if you know what you are doing." Admiral Zek Thrawn's voice came through the communication system again. "Captain Keth Moore, report immediately." When they returned to the command center, the Admiral's image was waiting on the view screen. Her expression was not pleasant. "Captain, I have been monitoring your situation. Show me this specimen." Junwoo waved at the screen. "Hello, Admiral. I am Junwoo. Nice to meet you." Admiral Zek Thrawn stared at him. "It speaks our language?" "I am a quick learner," Junwoo replied in perfect Velthani. "Your language structure is actually quite elegant, more efficient than English in some ways." The Admiral leaned forward in her chair. Primitive species do not learn languages in hours. Well, I am not really primitive, Junwoo said thoughtfully. I mean, my species has only been using advanced technology for a few centuries, but we learn fast. We have to. Evolution on Earth does not give you time to be slow learners. Tell me about your world, Admiral Zek Thrawn ordered. Junwoo settled into a comfortable position. Earth is what you might call a high-stress environment. We have extreme weather, dangerous animals, toxic plants, deadly bacteria, and natural disasters that can destroy entire cities. Humans evolved to survive all of that. And your military capabilities? Oh, we are very good at warfare. We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We have weapons that can destroy our entire planet several times over, but most humans prefer science and cooperation to fighting. Admiral Zek Thrawn looked troubled. You have planet-destroying weapons? Nuclear missiles, yes. But we also have people like my Aunt Yu-Ri who work in international relations to prevent wars, and people like Dr. Min Ho, my thesis advisor, who focus on understanding life instead of destroying it. The Admiral made notes on her personal device. How many of your species exist? About 8 billion humans. Plus, we share the planet with millions of other species. Some of them are domesticated, some are wild, some are semi-wild. We have learned to coexist with most of them. Semi-wild? Well, like the dolphins that follow our research boats, or the whales that let us swim with them if we are respectful, or the sharks that have learned to recognize individual human divers. Admiral Zek Thrawn's image flickered as she processed this information. Your species has established cooperative relationships with apex predators? Sure. My girlfriend, Hai, Jin, does research with tiger sharks. Dangerous animals, but they are also intelligent. If you approach them correctly, they will let you study them. The Admiral turned to Captain Keth Moore. Captain, I am upgrading this situation to Code Orange. Contact the Science Directorate immediately. Code Orange? Junwoo asked. What does that mean? Keth Moore looked uncomfortable. It means we have encountered a species that might be more advanced than our initial assessment indicated. Oh, that makes sense. Humans are pretty advanced in some ways. We have been to our moon. We have sent probes to other planets. And we have telescopes that can see other galaxies. Plus, we have the internet, which lets us share information instantly across our entire planet. Admiral Zek Thrawn made more notes. Specimen, what is your species' attitude toward other intelligent life? Most of us are pretty excited about the possibility. We have been wondering if we are alone in the universe for centuries. Scientists, like Haye Jin, study theoretical xenobiology, just in case we ever meet aliens. We have protocols for first contact situations. We even have people like Colonel Jae Won who have developed defense strategies, just to be prepared. The Admiral and Captain exchanged glances. This species had been preparing for alien contact. That was not typical of primitive civilizations. Specimen, what would your species do if contacted by an advanced alien civilization? Junwoo thought about this question seriously. Well, first, we would try to establish peaceful communication and cultural exchange. We would want to learn about your science, your history, your society. We would probably offer to share our own knowledge in return. And if the aliens were hostile? Junwoo's expression became more serious. Then we would defend ourselves. Humans are very good at defending themselves when necessary. We are also very good at adapting to new threats. Admiral Zek Thrawn leaned back in her chair. Captain, I want you to run a full threat assessment on this species immediately. Contact every database we have about Terra 3. Admiral, Dr. Yith Cole interrupted, our databases might be incomplete. This specimen has demonstrated capabilities that exceed our models by significant margins. What kind of capabilities? Reflexes faster than our security systems, immunity to multiple neurotoxins, survival skills that allowed him to defeat environmental conditions that would kill most galactic species, and learning abilities that let him master our language in hours. Admiral Zek Thrawn looked at Jun Woo with new eyes. Specimen, are you representative of your species? Pretty typical, I think. Maybe a bit more curious than average. My grandmother always said I asked too many questions. The Admiral made a decision. Captain, I am sending additional ships to your location. We need to gather more information about this species before we proceed. Additional ships? Jun Woo asked. Are you planning to visit Earth? That depends on what we learn from you, Jun. Woo nodded thoughtfully. Well, if you do visit, you should probably contact our authorities first. People like Lieutenant Yun Su in our defense forces or Ambassador Yu Ri in our diplomatic services. They handle first contact protocols. The fact that this primitive species had first contact protocols was disturbing enough. The fact that they had military officers specifically assigned to alien contact scenarios was terrifying. Admiral Zek Thrawn ended the communication link. Captain Cathmore looked at his prisoner with growing concern. They had thought they were collecting a specimen from a primitive world. Instead, they had captured a representative of a species that was apparently preparing for interstellar contact. Species that treated survival on a death world as normal daily life. A species that might be far more dangerous than anyone in the Velthani Empire had imagined. The Velthani fleet arrived 6 hours later. 3 massive ships appeared in the space around Captain Cathmore's vessel, their hulls gleaming with advanced technology and weapons systems. Admiral Zek Thrawn had brought the best scientific minds and military strategists in the Velthani Empire. But by then, it was too late to maintain the illusion that they were dealing with a primitive species. Jun Woo had been busy during those 6 hours. The young human had politely asked for access to the ship's database systems to better understand Velthani culture and technology. Captain Cathmore, still uncertain how to handle his unusual prisoner, had granted limited access through a heavily secured terminal. That had been a mistake. When Admiral Zek Thrawn materialized in the command center via transport beam, she found Jun Woo sitting at the terminal with Dr. Yith Cole beside him. Both of them were looking at data streams that flickered across the screen faster than most beings could follow. Fascinating, Jun Woo was saying. Your energy conversion efficiency is remarkable, but you could probably improve it by 12% if you adjusted the quantum field harmonics like this. He pointed to a complex equation on the screen. Dr. Yith Cole was taking notes frantically. The mathematical models make perfect sense. How did you derive these calculations? Basic physics, really. We use similar principles in our fusion research back on Earth. My friend Min Ho published a paper about quantum field manipulation that covers some of these concepts. Admiral Zek Thrawn stared at the screen. The equations Jun Woo was showing them were more advanced than anything the Velthani had developed. This prisoner was teaching their chief scientist how to improve their own technology. Specimen, Admiral Zek Thrawn said carefully. Step away from the terminal. Jun Woo looked up and smiled. Hello, Admiral. I was just learning about your propulsion systems. Very elegant design. Though I think there might be a problem with your navigation computers. What kind of problem? Well, according to your star charts, you think Earth is located in a region of space with no other intelligent life. But that is not accurate. We have been receiving radio signals from at least 12 other civilizations in our local galactic region. The Velthani command staff looked at each other in alarm. Their intelligence reports had indicated that Terra 3 was isolated, with no allies or advanced neighbors. Also, Junwoo continued, your database says humans are a primitive species with basic tool use. But we have had spaceflight for over 60 years, nuclear technology for 80 years, and global communication networks for 30 years. We have space stations, satellite systems, and robotic probes exploring our solar system. Admiral Zek Thrawn felt a cold sensation in her stomach. Your species has space-based infrastructure? Oh yes. Hundreds of satellites, multiple space stations, and we are planning permanent bases on our moon and Mars. My girlfriend Hyojin actually applied for the Mars colonization program. She wants to study extremophile bacteria in Martian soil. Captain, Keth Moore spoke up quietly. Admiral, we may have made an error in our intelligence gathering. What kind of error? We may have classified an advanced technological species as primitive based on incomplete data. Admiral Zek Thrawn studied Junwoo more carefully. The human sat relaxed in his chair, looking at her with open curiosity and no sign of fear. He was comfortable in this situation because he had realized something the Velthani had not. He was not their prisoner. They were his unwilling students. Specimen, the Admiral said. What does your species know about the Velthani Empire? Not much, Junwoo admitted. We have detected your ship's energy signatures from about 20 light-years away, but this is our first direct contact. However, based on what I have learned in the past few hours, I think there might be some misunderstandings between our species. What kind of misunderstandings? Junwoo stood up and walked to the main view screen. You classify humans as a primitive species that needs to be studied and controlled. But humans classify ourselves as an emerging spacefaring civilization that is ready for peaceful contact with galactic neighbors. He gestured to the star charts on the screen. You see Earth as an isolated, primitive world. We see Earth as the home base for a species that is preparing to explore and colonize multiple star systems. Admiral Zek Thrawn felt the foundations of her worldview beginning to crack. And if our two classifications are incompatible, then we have a diplomatic problem, Junwoo said simply. But those can usually be solved with good communication and mutual respect. Dr. Yeath Cole looked up from her notes. Admiral, the specimen is correct. His species appears to be much more advanced than our databases indicated. They may not be suitable for standard specimen collection procedures. The Admiral understood the implication. The Velthani Empire had built its expansion on conquering primitive worlds with overwhelming technological superiority. But if this human was representative of his species, then Earth was not a primitive world. Earth was a potential rival. Specimen, what would your species do if they discovered that aliens had abducted one of their people? Junwoo considered this question. Seriously. Well, first they would try diplomatic contact to secure my return. People like my Aunt Yu Ri would attempt to establish formal communication channels. And if diplomacy failed, then people like Colonel J. Wan would implement defensive protocols. Humans do not like it when their people are taken against their will. Defensive protocols, isolation of the threat, protection of human assets, and preparation for escalated response if necessary. Junwoo's tone remained calm and polite, but something in his eyes had changed. Humans are very protective of each other, Admiral. Captain. Kethmore realized that they were no longer interrogating a specimen. They were negotiating with a representative of a potentially hostile species that had military protocols specifically designed for alien contact scenarios. "Admiral," he said, quietly, "I recommend immediate diplomatic contact with the Terra 3 government." "Agreed," Admiral Zek Thron replied. "Specimen, I apologize. What is the proper term for addressing you?" "Jun Wu is fine. Or if you prefer formal protocols, student researcher Jun Wu of Melbourne University, Earth. Jun Wu, would you be willing to serve as a liaison between our species?" "I would be happy to help establish peaceful contact," Jun Wu replied. "But I should warn you that humans have been preparing for this possibility for a long time. We have protocols, contingency plans, and people who specialize in interstellar relations. Such as, Ambassador Yu Ri has spent 20 years developing first contact frameworks. Dr. Minho leads a research team that studies potential alien technologies. Lieutenant Yun Su coordinates between our civilian and military space programs. Colonel J1, well, he makes sure we are ready for any situation." Admiral Zek Thron understood. This species was not just prepared for alien contact. They had been systematically planning for it across multiple government and academic institutions. "How long has your species been preparing for contact with alien civilizations?" "About a century, seriously. But humans have been wondering about life on other worlds for thousands of years. It is part of our nature to be curious about what is out there." The Admiral made her decision. "Captain, prepare a communication link to the Terra 3 system, full diplomatic protocols." "Yes, Admiral." Jun Wu smiled. "That is a good choice. Humans prefer cooperation to conflict. We have learned that working together usually produces better results than fighting." "And if we had chosen differently?" Jun Wu's expression became more serious. "Then you would have discovered why Australians have a reputation for being very hard to kill, and why humans have survived on a death world for millions of years." Admiral Zek Thron looked at this young human who had casually dismantled their security systems, learned their language, improved their technology, and demonstrated that everything they thought they knew about his species was wrong. She realized that the Velthani Empire had made a profound mistake. They had encountered a species that was not primitive at all. They had found a civilization that was preparing to join the galactic community as equals, not subjects. And they had accidentally declared hostile intent against that civilization by abducting one of its people. "Jun Wu," she said carefully, "what would it take for our species to establish peaceful relations?" "Mutual respect, scientific exchange, and maybe some help getting me back to my research project," Jun Wu replied with a grin. "I still need to finish collecting bacteria samples for my thesis. Dr. Minho will not be happy if I am late with my data analysis." The Admiral looked at her staff. They had come here expecting to study a primitive specimen. Instead, they were about to begin diplomatic negotiations with a species that treated surviving on a death world as normal preparation for university coursework. The Velthani Empire had encountered humans expecting to find sheep. Instead, they had found lions who happened to be interested in science. This was going to require significant changes to their expansion policies. And Admiral Zek Thron suspected that the galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place.